Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad that you can join us for another lesson. We have a great episode in store for you guys, and I'm recording a short message before the video because this is a teaching that we did on a different platform. It was regarding marriage advice, and we think this is the best marriage advice that there is right now, especially with all the stuff that's going on with the different advice that people are giving online, the different dating coaches, stuff that's happening with different celebrity couples and stuff. And we feel like the marriage advice that we give in this teaching and in this lesson is timeless. It's Yah's principles. It's the truth. And you guys know that when you come on this channel, we're going to discuss biblical principles, and everything is going to line up to Yah. So again, guys, we hope you enjoy this teaching. It's called Love and Respect, and we hope you enjoy it. So take a listen, share your comments, share your thoughts, and share this video with friends and family, especially if you have any newlyweds that are getting married. We wish we had this advice when we first got married years ago. So check it out, guys. We love to hear your feedback, and we hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Yes, honey, and we got such a great topic today.
Yes.
The thing about this topic is a lot of people have been asking us about it for so long, and we put it off, and we finally got back to it. And that topic is marriage, and not only just marriage, but how to make your marriage work. And the subject we're going to be touching on is love and respect. It's going to be a great topic, guys. So get your pens and paper out. This episode can save your marriage, especially if you're newlyweds or if you've been married for a while. There's just so many things that from our experiences that we're going to share, what's going on in society as a whole. We're going to dive into it. Love and respect, guys. This episode is going to save your marriage. And we've talked about marriage in the past. If you go back and listen at older episodes, we talked about the demise of the family. I think it was episode 4 or something like that. Just go back and listen, guys. But we touched on these statistics. We know that in the USA, half of all marriages end in divorce. Another stat we had was in the 1960s, there was 1 divorce for every 8 marriages. And in 2017, there are 2 divorces for every 5 marriages. So, guys, that's nearly half. Like the stat says, half of every marriage ends in divorce. And sadly, especially in our community, a stat we got from the National Marriage Resource Center, Black women divorce at a rate nearly double of either white or Hispanic women. So we know that in our community, the Black community, marriage is a lot of times Black females are the last to get married. So that's something that we have to change.
Yes.
And as a part of Legacy Builders, we want to keep those guys' marriages together. We want families to grow stronger. We're not just talking 5-10 years, guys. We're talking 50 to 100 years into the future. So that's what we're looking at. That's a legacy,
Yes,
with your family intact.
Right, and we're not just talking to people who are married right now. We're also talking to people who are anticipating marriage as well.
Exactly. That's the goal. Because we all want a happy family, right?
Right.
Especially if you had a rough childhood. Everyone wants a family. So let's dive into, we read the stats. Let's look at the 2 main reasons why couples divorce. And again, we talked about this previously. So from amicable.com, the number 1 reason that they say that people divorce is 44% said that they grew apart. They said that their values changed. You want to add something to that?
My. Well, what I would like to add is a major reason why many couples grow apart when they become married. And that reason is communication.
I agree.
Communication is one of the biggest reasons, because without communication, I always that's the saying. It goes oxygen. Well, communication is like oxygen, and without it, you'll die. And that's the same thing with relationships, with marriages.
Powerful.
Yes, what it's just like oxygen, and without it, the relationship will die. It's very, very important, because if you can't effectively communicate with each other, then you won't be able to understand one another, and that can cause conflict.
Exactly. In fact, this, if you really think about it, this episode could be called communication. It's called love and respect, but we're going to talk a lot about communication.
Yes,
and that's a major problem, yes, in folks' marriages. The second reason that they gave for, and you guys would be surprised, or you may not be, of why folks divorce is because infidelity. 18% of the people they surveyed said infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly, guys, what we believe why people divorce and why marriages don't last is because, number one, they didn't build it on the right foundation.
Oh, yes. Number one.
I tell guys all the time that if y'all don't have a solid foundation, it's going to be nearly impossible to make your marriage work. Because you guys don't have a standard that you agree upon, a certain set of rules that you'll follow, that you know that full stop that this is what we agree upon.
Absolutely, and it's just like a house. I mean, without that solid foundation, the house will not stand.
The house is going to fall.
Yes.
And we know, guys, like we were saying, society is moving away from a biblical foundation. That's what we're talking about when building the right foundation. That's a biblical foundation.
Yes.
Society is pushing folks away from that. Especially with the younger people, they're promoting the ideal marriage as your Cardi B's and your Offset Smith. And Will Smith, right. and Jada Pinkett. Yeah, I mean, they were in the news recently, Jada and Will. What was it? Jada was involved in an entanglement.
Right, I'm sure many of you guys have heard of that.
Man, just call it for what it is, man. You was cheating.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Right.
And the little thing they did at the end of the
Right,
red carpet
that was crazy.
What, we ride together, we die together.
Bad marriage for life. Wow.
And we was like, whoa. I mean, you speaking that over your marriage, because everything, like all the words that we put out into the universe is what manifests.
Exactly. So they may have thought that they were joking, but they
were
don't
speaking
exactly
that over their marriage.
Exactly.
That it would be a bad marriage for life. You have to speak what you want to see.
And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want a bad marriage for life.
Oh,
you want a bad marriage for life, honey?
What? I want a happy marriage.
You don't want to give me dap on down?
Marriage,
give me a pound on down like Will and Jada.
No way. I ain't speaking that over this house, over this marriage. No way.
Yeah. Listen, guys. Another saying I like to say. TV and real life are two different things. Man, don't let TV fool you.
Right.
These people are just acting silly with themselves.
Make believe.
Putting that crazy stuff out there. So we're going to touch more on that as we talk in the episode. And guys, the advice we're going to share with you today, I just want to preface it by saying this. It takes two to make a marriage work, guys. If either partner is not willing to grow, then this will not work. The advice we give you, it will not work. It takes two to make the marriage work, guys. So hopefully, if you're a wife who's listening to this episode, maybe you can let your husband hear it. That way you guys can both get a different perspective. If you're a husband, let your wife hear this episode, because you're going to get different sides today. And we're going to share experiences that we learned from our marriages. From our marriage, I'm sorry.
What?
And it's only been married once, one time. Right. Only married once.
We're not knocking.
Right,
I mean, sometimes, it doesn't go well.
Sometimes it doesn't work out because
you only know what you know.
Right.
Sometimes with marriage, we don't know. We go into it and we haven't been taught or haven't seen a healthy marriage.
Right.
And we go into it and we might go into it with a toxic partner.
Exactly.
And we just haven't seen, or they haven't seen the right way, and it ends up not working because of what they didn't know. We only do what we know.
Exactly.
So now let's dive into it.
Let's go. What you got?
A lot of things we're going to be discussing today is going to be from the book called Love and Respect, and also from the Bible.
Right. And guys, I highly recommend that you check out that book. Love and Respect is written by Dr. Emerson. You can find it on Amazon.
Very
great tip.
Book.
So as we talk through the episode, we're just going to kind of give some quick highlights of what we got from the book, and we just want to share it with you. We don't want this to be a super long episode. We may do a part 2, but we're just going to touch on what stood out to us, and hopefully it can help you guys out.
Right. So let's dive in. So first I want to start with saying marriage is hard work.
What?
Marriage is hard work.
No, I thought it was easy.
Oh my goodness.
It's not like those Disney movies?
Oh, no way. I mean, I remember back, I envisioned marriage as Cinderella. Like a Cinderella.
Prince Charming come and sweep you off your feet, right?
Sweep me off my feet, and I was like, okay, we're going to live happily ever after, and we're never going to have to deal with any more challenges. We're just going to be in love and ride this thing out.
Right.
And boy, did life teach me something different. Marriage is hard work.
It takes hard work,
yes.
guys. And I think a lot of people go into marriage just with the mindset that you said you had of being a fairy tale, and it's... But guys, as you know, it takes hard work, and it takes two people to be willing to work it out.
Yes, but one thing I can say, that marriage is, it may be hard work, but it is a beautiful thing if you both complete and complement each other.
Exactly.
And if you both are humble and willing to make it work.
Facts. I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing I want to share is, when it comes to marriage, a woman wants to feel loved and a man wants to be respected. And they both have to speak each other's language.
Right. That's basically what the book dives into.
Right.
Yeah, at its core, that's true. It's as simple as that, guys. If you don't remember that a woman wants to feel loved and the man wants to be respected. And I think when we were going over this book, I didn't think we realized how simple it was.
Right.
We just think of all kind of different things, and it really boils down to that. And I asked you this the other day, and I'm going to ask you guys the same question. Just basically, instinctively, without nobody ever telling you, what did you know about a relationship between a man and a woman? Not from what you saw. I'll speak from myself as a man. I knew that a man always wanted to be the king of his castle. And nobody had to tell me that. I just knew that instinctively. So what that meant to me was, I wouldn't take no woman disrespecting me. You're not going to be making me feel inadequate. You're not going to be loud capping me in front of people.
Right.
So, and then it's just different forms of respect. And sometimes it could be subtle forms of disrespect, and we're going to dive into that. But for me, I always knew that a man wanted to be the king of his castle. So, and whatever that meant to different people, I mean, that's what it is. But what you think about it, that's what you knew instinctively about a relationship between men and women that nobody had to tell you.
I would say for me, like, looking at it from my perspective, when it came to the woman, I always knew that a woman wants to feel protected. You know, like, no matter what happens, she would want to know, she wants to know that her man has her back.
Right.
That's a big deal for many women. I've spoken to, a lot of women who are married or some who are anticipating marriage. And when you listen to it, it all boils down to them wanting to feel that they are protected or that the man has her back. Because there's many relationships that have fallen apart because they felt that the man did not have their back. They felt like they were in it all alone by themselves.
Would that mean that, like, the man is putting other things before the woman?
Right, putting other things or other people before her, and her just not feeling important in his life. Like, a woman wants to feel, I'm not going to say number one, because it depends on the foundation.
Right.
The father has to be number one, first and foremost, because he's the head. But she also wants to know that she's just, she's
right under that.
Right. I'm saying father, how the order,
right.
How it goes.
Order, right.
Because even the word tells us that the man is her covering. So she wants to know that, okay, I'm covered and he has my back.
Exactly.
So
that makes sense.
That's from my perspective.
I agree. I'm sure a lot of women feel like you. A woman wants to feel protected.
Yes. And she definitely wants her husband to have her back. Because really, most of the time, if you really think about it, many women, especially in our community, we have our husband's back.
Right, yeah, y'all gonna ride for Pull out switchblade.
Many of us already have our husbands
y'all gonna
back.
fight, so
yes.
yeah.
So I'm saying, I
Y'all
guess
want
that's why we feel that way
Y'all
too.
want the feeling to be mutual.
Right.
I think for a man though, the man is gonna fight and protect his family. So I don't think it's more of the man fighting for you, as far as like, okay, if you feel harmed or something like that, I'm gonna protect you from, to say, a bad guy or whatever. Right. But I think it's more of, like you said, dealing with family or outside things.
I would say that's definitely important. Because we've watched shows before where they had couples in divorce court because they were dealing with the husbands like letting everybody interfere with their marriage and coming into their house and control it, and there was no they had no control over their marriage because everybody else had a say so in it. Exactly. So that definitely, but a woman want to know too that the man gonna protect her. Even I'm talking about like if something happens, and he needs to stand up. Yeah, they want to know that too.
Yeah, because for myself, I mean, that's instinctively I know. Okay, I'll jump in front of a truck for my wife, but I was in a chat room with I was in a Facebook group with some other guys, and that very question was asked: if your wife was drowning or something or dying. And a lot of guys are like, she would drown.
Oh my goodness.
God, wow, you married.
Right. What in the world?
So I agree. A lot of men don't feel it. Yep. A lot of men are like, what's she doing in the water?
You see.
So we got to get it right.
Oh my goodness. We got
to get it right, family. We got to do better.
Oh my goodness.
We got to do better.
You see, that's part of the problem.
Right. And today we were watching one of the episodes with Iyanla, and it was touching on this very subject. As younger guy who was married to an older woman. She was 47, he was 31.
Right.
And she had older kids.
That was close to the guy's age.
Yeah, right. I think the woman's son was like 27. Right. So Iyanla pulled the man aside, and she's like, why are you letting this happen? She's like, why are you letting this woman make you feel like you're inadequate? And I just thought that touched home, and it goes back to what I said, the man wants to be treated like king in his castle. So I don't care how soft the man is or how weak you think a man is, or he's not wearing the pants, I gotta wear the pants for him. A lot of women feel like that. Right. You're only pushing that man away when you're making him feel inadequate.
Absolutely.
So
because he actually was feeling like, okay,
he don't have a say so, right?
Yep. He was like, if you don't change this, if things don't change and you don't let me be able to start having a say so, I'm gonna have to go.
Exactly.
And she looked devastated.
Right.
But he told her, I'm gonna have to remove myself out of this marriage.
Right. So that goes back to that premise, ladies. The man wants to feel like he's the king of his castle at the end of the day. Bottom line.
Yes.
So let's dive into this book. The book is basically premised on this scripture, Ephesians 5:33. And guys, the answer is in the book, in the Bible. We try to read all these other books to get our answers or get advice from people. The answer is in the book. Plain and simple. Ephesians 5:33. It says, however, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. So let me read that again. Let each one of you, that means men. He's talking to the men here. Let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. Guys, what that says is like one triggers the other, positively or negatively. Each person must have the mindset of love and respect, regardless of how the other person feels. You were going to say something?
Yes, I was just going to say that reminded me of what you just said about the group when about the women drowning, and they're like, why is she in the water? But that goes back to
unbelievable.
I mean, what if it was them? What if they was drowning? I'm just saying. It says love her as you love yourself.
Exactly.
So if you say why she in the water, so if you're drowning, is that how she's supposed to look at you? Why he in that water? Let him drown.
A lot of people are still selfish. If you're married, why? If you're still selfish, why you get married?
Right.
Scripture tells us two become one.
Yes. You have to be selfless in marriage.
Selfless in marriage. That's the whole name of the game.
Yes. So referring back to the scripture you just read, when it comes to the wife respecting her husband, that is very important, because when we as wives show constant disrespect towards our husbands, the only thing could come from that is it will trigger him to start acting unloving towards us.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, if we overwhelm our husbands with respect, it will motivate him to be, well, it will motivate them to be more loving towards us. So it's a trigger.
Right. One affects the other.
Exactly.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, so a big form of disrespect towards our husbands could be emasculating him.
Emasculate your husband? How do women do that?
Oh my, I mean, emasculating your husband, it can make him, it's like when we making them feel like they're less than a man, or, you know, like, okay, I'm wearing the pants.
Oh, wow.
I have to take over and I have to do things because you're not man enough to do it.
Wow.
That can be emasculating the man, and it's also a form of disrespect, because if we are making our husbands feel less than a man, then how can he actually man up the way we may feel that we want him to man up if we always making him feel like he's less than a man?
Right. And a man doesn't like that. Like I said earlier, a man doesn't like to feel that he's less than. And I mean, you deal with a lot of women. A lot of women feel, and I've seen it in groups where this guy was talking about the other day. He was saying that when he first married his wife, he said she was over him like a hawk. She was watching him cut the grass. She's like, why you out here watching me cut the grass? She said, because you may not do it right. He's like,
right.
Woman, if you don't go in the house and sit yourself down.
Right.
He said, I got this. I know how to do it. So, I mean, but that could be a form of you feeling like the man can't do something right. And you have to be watching over him over his every step.
Right. And you see, the thing with that is a lot of times what happens is a lot of that comes from single parent homes.
Exactly.
Being raised by the moms.
Right.
Or being raised to be so independent that you're so used to doing things on your own. And now when you get into that relationship, you still have that mindset of independence. So it's kind of hard for you to allow your husband to be the man and do what he's required to do as the man of the household. So that can also be a form of, that can be a reason why some women emasculate their husbands, because they haven't been shown the right way. They're so used to being independent
right.
and strong, because that's what the world promotes,
right.
to be
Society
so strong and independent. And it affects marriages because it makes it harder for the woman to be humble,
right?
And to be able to understand that it's important for us to be interdependent.
Right.
We don't have to be all independent.
Right.
We need to be interdependent and allow our husbands to do what they are put here on earth to do.
Right. And that goes back to the different roles that they have in a marriage.
Right.
The man has to play his role, the woman plays her role.
Exactly.
So,
it's not how society promotes I can do anything a man can do.
No.
Well, that's not how the Father created it.
No.
He has created order. Everything is done in decency and order when it comes to the Most High.
Exactly.
So to say we can do anything a man can do, we should not desire as women to want to do anything a man could do. We want to do what the Father has put us here on earth to do. We have a job on our own to do.
Exactly.
Love our husbands, raise our kids, contribute. That Proverbs 31 woman.
Right. Facts. Right. So on the flip side, what you were saying, how the woman wants to feel. I'll talk about how it affects the man. A man, if you're acting unloving towards your wife, it will trigger her to be disrespectful. So if the woman is acting disrespectful to her husband, he won't show love. And if the husband is acting unloving towards his wife, he will feel disrespected. But on the other hand, if you overwhelm your wife with love, it will motivate her to show more respect. And that goes back to what I was just saying. And guys, we have to understand that this thing triggers each other.
Yes.
And what they're talking about in the book is a lot of couples, he calls this the crazy cycle. Because we don't know how to communicate with the love and respect, we stay on that crazy cycle. And that crazy cycle is basically when folks are at each other's throats, husband and wife. They stay upset with each other for whatever reason. they keep on repeating this cycle, and they expecting different results.
Right.
And a majority of time, it leads to divorce, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of people don't make it out that cycle.
Right.
The only way out of that cycle is a divorce because they can't communicate.
Right. I was just about to say that goes back to what we said at the very beginning. Communication is like oxygen. Without it, your relationship, your marriage will die.
Right.
You have to learn how to communicate. If you haven't been taught how to communicate, then it's never too late to learn it. But communication is everything in a marriage.
We learned it.
Yes.
We learned it later on. Like
yes.
10 years later. But again, guys, we didn't have nobody, a good model to show us of what a healthy marriage looks like. So all of us, a lot of us are learning from the school of hard knocks. Right. So.
But that's why it's important too, when you are married, or when you're anticipating marriage, that you two have a lot of the same aspirations, goals, and just dreams, like for the future. Because meaning, like, do you both desire family?
Right.
Do you both desire to be married and stay married? Like a lot of things you guys have to connect based on what do you both want to do in the future, and it should align with where you both want to go as individuals. Because if it aligns, then it's going to be a little easier, for you guys to work towards building the type of marriage that you want to see.
Right. And you'll have something, like you said, that holds you together, and you can work through that rough patch.
Exactly.
But again, a lot of people don't make it through that cycle. So the only escape is a divorce, or they just feel like, I'm done. Man, I'm in different Facebook groups. Like just about every day I see a husband putting up a post. He's like, well, guys, I'm done. Y'all pray for me. I'm like, man. And
it be simple stuff. It sounds like it's from
a lack of communication.
So you're destroying families. You guys done had kids
legacies,
together.
Exactly.
Right. Because now, once you divorce and you guys go on with your life, that's another thing too. People believe that, a lot of people believe that, okay, if I divorce this person and move on with my life, that things are going to get better and it's going to change with the next relationship. Right. But what they don't realize is that when they leave that particular relationship and it was toxic, all they're doing is taking what they had, what they put into that relationship with them into the new relationship.
Exactly.
So then that relationship also becomes toxic and they repeat the same cycle.
The cycle continues.
So you have to deal with those issues. So why not just deal with it with the person you're with that you have already built a family with?
Right.
Instead of destroying children's lives.
Right. And then starting a whole different family, and then you have to deal with steps and different homes, 3 different homes.
Sometimes you can't even give an event with both parents there because it's so much animosity between the two. Right. And we're not knocking anybody, because we know that the majority of the world, like what we're starting to see is there is a lot of blended families, but we do understand why. Right. This is just common in our community because we just haven't been shown the proper way to build a healthy marriage. We know it's in the Father's word, but many of us don't dive into that right away. It's just something that has to come over time by building a relationship with the Father and seeing somebody possibly who have done it right.
Right. And as couples, we just have to learn. Women, they speak in code. Men, as you know, that they speak a different code than us. Oh, yes. And women, y'all need to realize that men speak a different code. I'll give you guys just an example. Let's say your wife says she doesn't have nothing to wear, and men, we know that she has a closet full of clothes. A closet full of clothes, and I've heard that 1,000,000 times.
Oh, really? I wonder from where?
The wife will say, I don't have nothing to wear, and she has a closet full of clothes. That's how y'all speak. Us men, if we say we don't have anything to wear, it's because we don't have nothing clean. Wow. We look at it different, so we just speak different, guys, and we have to learn and understand that our communication is different. Right. And a lot of us don't realize that. We just think She done, especially women. Well, he should understand what I'm saying. He should know what I meant.
Well, now I think after you be with somebody for so long, you start to
learn each other's ways.
learn each other, and then you start to understand. Okay, look, we understand. We both think different.
Right.
That's how when we're saying something and we're not on the same page, we're like, okay, you seen it this way, and I'm seeing it my way. It doesn't make it the wrong way.
Right.
It's just we're seeing it two different ways, and sometimes. The funny part is we be seeing it the same way.
Right. We're saying the same thing.
We just be saying it a little different, but it
one word different.
Right, one word different. And then we like, well, we saying the same thing.
Right, exactly. So since we're talking about communication, let's dive into like how we first used to communicate. What did we learn? What were some examples of how we first communicated in our marriage that we didn't know that we learned later?
It's something that was probably toxic for the marriage. That wasn't healthy. I would say shutting down in arguments. Like when we were when it was disagreements. I would say disagreements. Because we was not always where we are today.
Right.
That took work.
Right.
So almost 2 decades we've been married.
Exactly. So it wasn't easy, guys. We're not trying to paint a rosy picture.
Right.
It took work.
Right. Because you see, when you get married, you have 2 individuals that are coming from 2 different families.
Right.
2 different backgrounds.
Right.
And now you're jumping into a marriage, and now you're trying to learn each other.
Right.
And you guys are really totally different. Y'all see things from a whole different perspective.
And
so
let me add this. I'm sorry, but if add to that, if you come from dysfunctional backgrounds,
right?
So
oh my goodness,
you in trouble.
This is common.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, it is common in every community, as we're starting to see.
Exactly.
But definitely in our community.
Right. But it don't matter, white, black,
yes,
Mexican,
it's in every community. Yes, and the thing is, now what I'm starting to realize is there is dysfunction in every family.
Right.
No matter how healthy the family may appear, like it's going to be some form of dysfunction. It's just there are some families that are healthier than others.
Yep. So I'll give an example. Like that, we didn't even discuss this before we got married, but we found out later as we was figuring out how to communicate with each other. Your background. You came from a family, when y'all had issues, y'all talked it out.
Right. We sat at the kitchen table and we talked about the issues. So we were communicators.
Right. So y'all were communicated in y'all family. My family? Sweep it under the rug. If there's an issue, hey, no harm, no foul. Just sweep it under the rug and just act like it never happened. So how do you get 2 people to communicate with each other if their backgrounds are so different? Right. So I didn't know how to communicate. I'm like, why you tripping? It's not so bad, and that's not no big deal. And you were like, yeah, let's talk about it.
Right. I wanted to talk. We gotta talk
about this. I'm like, yeah, you tripping, man. It's not no big deal. Just we're gonna live to fight another day. Don't worry about it.
Or just doing like nothing never happened, and let's just move on to the next day. And I'm like, no, we have to talk this through.
Right.
So yeah,
I agree. And
so we say shutting down in arguments. So that was one of them.
Right.
So we definitely have learned it's very unhealthy to shut down in arguments.
Right.
Talk it through.
And men, we deal with conflict different than women. Guys, y'all know, men, we don't fight with words. Women, y'all like to talk, and that's how y'all deal with conflict, with words.
Right.
Men is not too much arguing we can do. Sometimes I tell my son or whoever it's like is nowhere else we can go. Next thing is we have to move some furniture around, so I can't keep talking.
Right.
So men, we don't know how to deal with conflict like that. Y'all deal with conflict through talking and hashing it out. Men, we don't do that. We put up a wall and we go sit in the corner somewhere. We just get some air. And then y'all don't understand that. You're like, why are you leaving? I want to talk it out.
We want to talk all day, all night. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Men, we don't deal with it that way. So it's important that women understand that. And
I had to learn that as well within our marriage. You know, like when my husband or like when we're talking about something or whatever, and he's quiet, and then he goes and sit down away for a little bit, then I understand that. I'm starting to, I've learned to respect that. Give him some time so that he can think things through, because we are 2 different individuals. We're not the same. And it's just me learning how to respect that.
Right.
And not forcing something, but just knowing that, okay, once that calms down, then we can resume and talk again.
Right.
But what's the beautiful thing is that we don't even
Right.
We don't even stay. I mean, being mad and all.
Right. We got past that stage.
We got past it. We can just be talking about something. We have a miscommunication in a couple of minutes. We like talking and having conversations like nothing happened.
In the past, I would be like, just she gonna get over it.
Right.
We'd go to sleep and the whole day, and probably another day wouldn't talk about it. That's how a lot of people communicate.
Right. Or me just being mad and silent.
And just let them stew in that madness. But guys, that's not the right way. What I've learned is that you have to deal with the issue head on. If y'all have to go lock yourself in the room and hash it out, because you'd be surprised how it's just a simple miscommunication. She might have heard it one way and you didn't say it that way.
And that has happened before, too.
Yes, plenty of times.
And we like, what?
Right.
So that's what you was thinking. That's not what I meant.
Exactly.
You know?
So, guys, talk it out.